Welcome to the Resilient Gentleman Podcast with your hosts, Douglas Berger and Christopher Payton. This show is all about forging unbreakable men on a path to greatness. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to the Resilient Gentleman Podcast. I'm Chris Payton with my illustrious co-host. I stole that from Charlie Eblin, but Douglas Berger.
Very illustrious.
Yeah, the handsome and ever so
charming,
resilient and charming and
idiot.
We're learning much more about you than I was intending.
Why do you think I moved to a different area? They kicked me out over there.
It is hard to get, for all the people that moved to Florida, it is pretty hard to believe they kicked you out of Florida.
Yeah. You got to do some pretty bad stuff in Florida. There's
to be
shows
removed,
made from Florida.
Florida man is a real thing.
Well, I'm pretty excited about today.
Yeah, me too.
We started the Resilient Gentleman for the purpose of introducing a conversation about what it takes to be a man in today's society, right? And there's a lot of challenges. We've talked through a lot of stuff.
It's not easy.
It's not simple. It takes a level of grit and determination. It takes a level of resiliency, as we're defining episode by episode. If you're not yet following us on Facebook, jump in there, hit the follow button. You can join the Facebook group, the Resilient Gentleman group, where we talk about different topics, and you can message Douglas or I about anything that you got going on in your world or anything that you want to bring light to. We love chatting through that. So definitely hit us there. YouTube, you can follow our episode drops every Thursday, early morning. I'm not quite out of bed yet when they're dropping. But YouTube, and then you can follow us on TikTok as well. All of the platforms, basically.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Any more?
Any more platforms dropping out of the sky?
Please, no.
But
yeah, feel free to get engaged. Drop some ideas, some talking points, maybe your own community events, resources that could be a good landing spot for any of that.
Really, and we've made this pretty, we kind of titled it exclusive. I mean, we didn't make it the Resilient People, right? But we're not opposed to conversations with women.
No,
I think
absolutely
they
not.
impact our resiliency.
Yes, they're a part of our lives.
That's right.
And
so anyhow, but most of the events and stuff should be
correct,
gentleman focused, right? Okay. Yep. So I found that we're not invited to the women's luncheons and events in town. They frown on me showing up to those. So
I don't know what to say
tried.
to that.
I tried one time. One time you want free lunch and you're at the wrong event.
Yeah.
But I have known John Seale for about a year, and you've known him for about 6 months or so that you've been hanging around the town.
We've chatted a few times, and I was lucky enough to have a one-on-one with him where we talked in pretty good depth for about an hour or so, and it was a great conversation. I think he's a perfect guest.
Sweet. So John is our first guest that we've had on the show.
Look at that.
So you should feel extremely honored.
Yeah. Sign this line right here in case it blows up. We get all royalties. No, just kidding.
We are not going to apologize for the banter, because sometimes we are not gentlemen. We are childish 7th graders. But there are times that we dive into some deep and dark topics, deep in the soul.
Life in itself.
Life in itself. Yeah. So, John, you are not native to Murfreesboro. You grew up, East Tennessee? Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you came from, and how you ended up in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, so my story hits the ground running pretty fast. I'm adopted from Latvia.
Oh, cool.
From overseas.
Tell me on a map where Latvia is in relation to the USSR.
It is directly left. It borders Russia.
Okay, cool. So, did you know that?
Sort of, kind of.
Okay. All right. Cool. You can keep going. I'm just trying to like picture it in my mind where it is. I thought maybe near Russia.
Oh, it's right in there, and
Yeah.
it
In the
used to be
mix.
part of the Soviet
Right.
Union too.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was
All
one
right.
of the countries.
Okay. Cool.
But I was brought here to the States when I was 18 months old.
Okay. So you don't remember much of it.
Not consciously,
Fair.
but
Subconsciously, you might remember all of it.
well, there is conversation about that, but we can, if we get into that, we can. But so I grew up in East Tennessee in a small town called Kingsport, known as the Tri-Cities. All of my siblings were adopted, so it was kind of a crazy house. I mean, we can get into that if you want to in this episode, but I came out here for a number of reasons. I came out here because I'm a musician by trade, and I wanted to go to MTSU.
Nice.
And I did that, and then ended up liking it a lot. So I ended up staying. And long story short, I used my music degree to start a black card service. So between all the jobs I've worked, I'm the employee that you should not hire. My resume has everything on it. Or if you want versatility, I have it. But I just didn't like working for the man, and I didn't quite enjoy
Number one attribute of an entrepreneur.
Yes, and I didn't quite like the music industry either. So I have been driving Uber and Lyft for over the years, and I always ended up back behind the wheel. So round 6, I took the hint, and I was like, maybe this is where I'm supposed to be.
So, resilient. How old are you?
31.
31. Adopted. Moved on his own. College. Self-employed already. I mean, there's some resiliency in there already.
Yeah, several jobs.
Several jobs.
So you started a company 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
We are 2.5 years old.
Nice. Okay. So John started the Ride Guy Transport and does black car service. You got a couple vehicles in your fleet.
Soon to be, yes. Thanks to yourself.
Yeah, that was not a plug, but yeah.
Yes, it was.
Shortly, there will be multiple vehicles in your fleet. By the time this airs, you may actually have it. So I have seen you around grow from, in the last year even, from the Uber, hey, do you need a lift to the airport, to the exclusive luxury
White glove service.
black car service in Murfreesboro and maybe moving into the Williamson County area as well as we look at that. So why did you, I mean, I know you said like, I didn't want to work for the man. I was tired of being an employee type thing. I want to work for myself. But what caused you to jump in head first, buy a vehicle and say, I'm going to do this myself?
That started in 2021. So I moved out to Cincinnati to get a master's in music, which fell through for obvious reasons, COVID, and there were a number of other things that happened. And I got a job at Tractor Supply, and one of my mission statements for my life is I'm going to finish what my dad started. And my dad lived a life where he counted time because of the situation he was in growing up. And so I refused to do that with my life. And so I was sitting in the parking lot in my little Honda behind the wheel again. Like, I don't like this job at Tractor Supply. And here I am again behind the wheel. And I kind of told myself, I was like, we're either going to make it work this time or get out. Like, this is going to be the time that it works. And I had already had my eyes on doing Uber Black anyways, which requires chauffeur license and everything like that. And I don't know. It was just like a switch in me. I just decided, like, this is going to be the time.
Okay. So you're here. I mean, you certainly got friends and community around you. You're going to MTSU. Graduated from MTSU.
Yeah.
And you start a business that puts you behind the wheel of a car, and you're sometimes have guests. Obviously, there's the return trips. You don't have guests, right? What do you and how do you handle all that time behind the wheel? Because that's like, for me, I'd go crazy. I think I told you that recently. Like, I don't do well hours behind the wheel. How do you handle that?
Yeah, so I've always enjoyed driving. I think the allure of it for me, and I've said this many a time, is that when I step in a vehicle, I see the two pedals in the steering wheel, and I say to myself, this thing can take me anywhere I want to go. I can go see anything I want to without asking anyone. And that's exciting to me. And when you have that and you add it on top of, I'm an extrovert and I love being around people and I love serving people. When you put the two together and make that my whole entire lifestyle, that's incredible. That's super fun to me. Like, serving people at a really high level, like retail and fast food is one thing, but this is high level customer service. This is like, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. What we call white glove service. So putting the two together, the driving and the customer service, it's just such a joy to me.
That's awesome.
I like what you said. Like, you feel like you can go anywhere, do anything, and have no boundaries. I mean, it sounds like when you're behind the wheel, you have freedom.
Freedom, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now, we've talked about this, and likely you've talked about it with Douglas, and I'm not trying to steal all the questions. You haven't.
No, you're
just
good at
jump
it.
In. Stealing the questions?
No, you're good at questions.
Oh. Well,
I'm
good
good at
at
jumping in.
asking questions. I thought I was good at stealing them. I don't want to steal all of them. But you would mention this to me as one of the challenges that you've faced, and I think it was one of the first times we've met, because, and again, this isn't a plug, but in car buying, we get judged. Customers get judged. The consumer gets judged walking in the door. And you have a relative baby face, right? We could call it a young-looking face for someone in his 30s.
Yep.
And that's been a challenge for you. I think on day one, you're like, hi, I'm John. I've got a baby face, and it freaking sucks. Like, I want to talk to you about buying cars for me because they don't take me seriously. Tell me about that. Like, some of the challenges that you've faced for what some guys would argue. I mean, I want a young looking face when I'm.
It's great when you're 53.
Yeah.
But when you're in your 20s, yeah, there's some challenges.
Sure. So talk about that. Tell me, like, what that looks like. And
yeah, so I don't really get to talk about this much. This is so interesting. This is something I really talk about with my close circle, but not in a space like this. So this is really cool and interesting. But having a young looking face, especially for the industry that I do, it's a very professional level industry. It requires a certain decorum. And when you show up looking really young in the industry, it leads people to want to not take you seriously. Like, you're just a kid that kind of wants to fling around and try this thing out.
You have an extra level of earning you have to do.
Yeah, so I've always found that, like, I have to, like, I think the best way to explain this is to give a couple examples, some of which I've talked to you about. And I think I've talked to you about them too. Like, there's been a couple of times where I've been asked if I'm old enough to drive.
wow.
One time I had an individual, and this was recently, this was like within the past year, get in the SUV and ask me, or he said, before even saying hello, he said, "You look a little young to be driving a car this big." So it's just stuff like that it's just like, I've had passengers exhibit a decorum of, like, nervousness because, I'm a young dude driving a big SUV. Are we going to get there safe? He's a young driver. Are we going to? And so it's almost like this, like, constant fight to be like, no, I know what I'm doing. And I know, like, what it takes to run this business. And especially now that we're full steam and 2.5 years in, and we've got a pretty good reputation within Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
And I'm not perfect. I never will sit here and say that, I've arrived and I'm at the end of the journey, like I still have so much to learn as everybody does, but there are aspects of it that I do know what I'm doing. And I would like to receive that respect in that regard.
Yeah. Now, and this may be out of bounds, it may not, but our very own Douglas Berger had to circle back and address something very similar in that where he thought you were a lot younger than you were, maybe. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't look 31 to me.
Right.
I see all the positives in that. If they told me, "Oh, are you too young for this job?" Yeah, I got this baby face. Thanks for the compliment. All right.
Right.
Is your seatbelt on? Let's go. No.
Yeah. So what happened there?
Yeah, so I mean, it was a networking event, and I've had this happen many a time at a networking event. And is this okay for me to share?
Yeah.
Okay. Because there is a very deep positive in this, and that totally goes with this, what you guys are doing with this show. But it was what I was used to, like unsolicited advice on a subject that had a very particular thing about it that I knew about, but Douglas didn't know about. And it's a very recent thing within the past 5 years. And it was like contractor versus employee. And within my industry specifically, this has gone to the courts of like, what is a contractor? And it could change right on the dime. And it has changed in different states, very specifically to like Uber jobs and limo jobs and chauffeur jobs. But what happened is that we got done with the networking event, and a few days later, I get a message from Douglas apologizing. And I have so much respect for that, because that to me, like if we're talking about like being a gentleman, being a man, that to me was very masculine. It's like, you know, he took ownership of his action and he decided to correct that wrong. I've never had a man do that in my entire life. If in the past few years, if I call someone out on that, they kind of fumble the ball and kind of try to talk their way out of it. I've never had a man that said like, hey, I was wrong, and like, can we talk through it? Like that to me, and I look at Douglas in a different way now because of that, and I have so much more respect for him, and that built a substantial amount of trust with him. So when it comes time for me to like look at, you know, an exit strategy for my business or to value my business, I know who I'm freaking going to, because, and that trust translates into what he does. I trust him a lot more to look at my business and to hold my business with the value that I do. So that's kind of what happened. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you telling that story, and it goes to and speaks to a lot of what we've been building in this show is accountability.
Yeah.
Through fitness, through mental health challenges, emotional challenges, things like that. And accountability stems with and starts with admitting when you're wrong.
Yep.
Right. And that's just a great example of the gentleman nature that you have, but also reaching a point where you can say, hey, people are more important than me, or people and their feelings are more important than me. And so I just appreciate that story. You both have shared it with me.
Yeah, I'd be completely ignorant if I just was like, hey, yeah, here's some unsolicited advice, you know, you do with it whatever you want, right? But, you know, I realize it probably wasn't the best idea at the right time, right? For a particular subject that I could be considered completely in the dark. Right. So that's why I felt compelled to reach out to him and say, hey, I think I came on a little strong. Right. Let's get together. I mean, it wasn't my intention. You know, my intention is only to help. So here we are. So he was very receptive, and we had a coffee, and I think we broke down some barriers for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice.
And here he is on our show.
That's right.
See that?
So we also have talked about mental health challenges. In the last couple of weeks, we've addressed, you know, topics that are challenges for men, that, you know, communicating when we're not okay and when we're struggling with something. And without diving into too great of detail, you struggled with some addiction and things like that you have found recovery from. And speak to that a little bit, because that's an area that, a lot of guys deal with, and there's not a lot of resources for, because of, we talked about last week, stigma of social appearances and what that looks like, and what do people think of me, and does this make me less of a man? Exactly. Or, things like that. So tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about what you experienced and when you kind of knew, hey, I got to change something.
Yeah. So for this, I had to go a little bit into my story. I try to keep it brief. But the family I was adopted into was very dysfunctional. My mom was untreated at her own will, untreated bipolar schizophrenic. She was told not to have kids. And my dad struggled with alcohol. And so there was a lot of tumultuous things in our house. Any way that a kid could be abused, I probably have experienced it within my house, whether it be explicit names or physical or spiritual, emotional. So there was a lot going on. And there was a lot of neglect and everything like that, and that's kind of where the addiction piece came in. Is when you leave kids alone and you kind of neglect them, they kind of do their own thing, and sometimes their own thing is not the best thing. And so I came out to Murfreesboro kind of wanting to shake my fist at that and be if being Christian is this, then I'm going to do the opposite, because obviously it didn't work. And that was not what God wanted for me. And I got saved, got baptized. And I think the crux for me was in 2016. I was starting to come around, because when you're in that environment, it feels normal to you, and you don't understand, even as a young adult, that what is happening to you is not okay. Right. And I kept telling some of these stories to my friends, and they would say hey, a mother is not supposed to say that to their child. It's oh, okay. Yeah. And so I was finally coming to grips with that. What I grew up in is not okay.
So let me put a pause on that, because I'm curious, and this is something that I don't know. It does speak to some of the challenges that we face, because you have that builds up some level of tension or wall in your life, right? Whether that's some type of wound that's searing over or whatever, you're thinking that's normal. That's just what all the kids are dealing with, right? And you're going through normalcy. Douglas has his normal. I have my normal. And those are all supposed to blend as we get to, school and then into work and all the things we've experienced for the last 18, 20, 25 years. We're now supposed to go out in the world and do business together. Coexist and safely drive on the roads. But, talk a little bit about that. Maybe dive in a little bit more to, as you're breaking down, this isn't normal. How does that look? You're saying friends are telling you that, but what are they? I mean, you're communicating how you grew up to them, or things that were said to you, or
how'd you get to that point in conversation? Because that's a big struggle, is getting to that point where you not only to have someone you can share with, but then feeling, hey, it's okay for me to share this at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that yeah, I'm just going to go with that. I'm going to speak on a Christian term, because that's my foundation, is Christ.
Sure.
But not only was it the community, and I think men struggle with community, and that's totally something else we could dive into. But I also saw aspects of Scripture, the way that Scripture described love and peace and safety and comfort. The qualities of God didn't match what I was raised in, and what Scripture refers to Jesus as Abba, which means dad. And so, that denotes a very intimate relationship. Even that term in the Jewish tradition was a very intimate term. And so when you translate that to earthly parents, I saw a sharp disconnect. Like, my dad isn't like that. Or my mom doesn't do that. Like Scripture, I think it's in Timothy, it says that God has the qualities of a nursing mother. And I was like, my mother never was like intimate like that. And so there was the disconnect, and then there was the part with the community where I started to feel comfortable, and I would step into other people's homes and observe things, observe the way the mother talked to their kids, the way the father was. And there was just so much, all the time I would see so much more like civilized conversations and affection, and the homes were clean. My mom was a hoarder, so like everything felt safer around.
Hoarder. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify.
No. Oh gosh.
So be on the same page there. She stored things, kept them.
A lot.
It was like the TV show, and I always hate to put it at that extreme, but it really was.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know until you go somewhere else and you experience like, oh, this is what communication's like. This is what like sitting at the dinner table looks like, and just not grabbing something out of a bag in the kitchen and running around doing whatever. There was some structure to their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So you're experiencing it like almost a realization that if my normal isn't this, their normal is much better than my normal was. So you start sharing and opening up like, hey, this isn't what I experienced. And one of the things that I think happens a lot with the church as a whole, we're seeing all kinds of stuff come out in the news over the last several weeks and months about different aspects of the church, is that some it can be not militarized, that's the wrong word, but used to manipulate people, right? And so people can take the same scripture and flip it and turn it into something that causes harm rather than good and showing the love of Christ, or how loving God is. And, so you speaking to that, are you at this point that you're starting to realize like, hey, I didn't grow up normal? Have you already been saved and baptized at this point? Or are you in this journey?
This was after, so this was when I was in college.
Okay.
My roommate Duncan at the time, I was trying to go to this discipleship training thing, and I fought with my parents, which didn't make sense because I'm like, my parents told me all their life that they're Christian, and they're telling me not to go to this Christian thing. And my roommate at the time looked at me and said, do you think that you might be in an abusive relationship with your mother? And it's like all the cards fell. It's like that's when I sunk down, and I was like, yes.
Interesting.
And I knew at that point I've got some stuff to do.
So
I appreciate that mindset.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe I shouldn't say most, but some definitely would have crumbled in that moment and maybe pointed fingers or blame and gave themselves excuses not to move forward and do something better and be a little bit more ambitious. So we applaud you, man, for your resiliency. I mean, that's impressive to go through what you've gone through and still stepping forward and becoming what you're becoming. And the confidence that you have, it's good to see. It really is good to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it also speaks to something we talked about in past shows of, as an accountability partner, now this is your roommate, But as an accountability partner, being able to say and feeling comfortable to say, hey, man, this doesn't seem right. Something seems out of place here. You're maybe in an abusive relationship with your mother. And that he took a lot of risk in that because you could have come back and been like, don't talk about my mother that way. No,
Right.
I love my mom. My mom's amazing. And gone down and it had become a battle. And now you've created this blockage between you and your roommate, which is brutal. I mean, I've had roommates in the past and those relationships can be
Had enough to realize I don't want any more.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, you kind of realize through that question, like, hey, I've got some work to do. I've got to sort out some stuff.
Yeah.
Where did you turn from there? Like, how did you proceed from there?
Yeah. So I started in the church, didn't get too far. I kept getting honor your mother and father. And that was a sharp disconnect for me too, because I was like, how am I supposed to honor my mother who called me this explicit name? Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? And in 2016, I found Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christ-centered 12-step program. And it felt like home. It felt like people that would listen to me, that would listen to my story. And I'd never had people want to sit and listen and like go deep. And I think this is a part like where I would encourage men that, it is okay to foster the soft side of masculinity. I think a lot of times we want to come at life with a fist and we want to be macho. And there are times, like my present roommates, they're like brothers to me. We talk about everything. We're not just beer drinking buddies. And I think that aspect is what got me through the trauma.
Yep.
Is having men in my life that I can cry with.
Yeah.
That I can give a hug to, that I can sit on the couch and tell them the deepest, darkest secrets.
Without fear.
Without fear. Yeah. And I think that's an aspect of masculinity that we miss in the community aspect. We build community, but it's not the right community for the right situation. I always encourage people to build what I call as a board of directors. And that's like 3 or 4 men in your life that are your men. I mean, even Jesus, the pillars. Jesus had that, his inner circle that you can go with anything, everything. That was crucial for me. And honestly, that was the brunt of my healing was those men that poured into me. And a lot of those men will be in my wedding because of the impact that they made on me.
Sure. And that,
good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we talked about a lot in previous episodes is that it's so important to find someone. And, you're calling, I love that term, the board of directors, like, speak to this a little bit. Like, are you on their board as well? Like those 4 guys, are you a closed circle or is that, so like each of you are the board of directors for each other, or is there a level of, they got outside influences and stuff as well?
Yeah, so I break the board of directors down into 2 categories. I love Jewish culture, even though I'm not a practicing Jew, but I like some of the aspects of Jewish culture. And I break it down into rabbi and fellow students. Rabbi is like your mentor, your coach, if you will, and your fellow students like your teammates. With the fellow students, there's absolutely some reciprocity there. But with a rabbi, a distinguished rabbi, there can't exactly be reciprocity in the way that we would think.
Yeah.
So like, of course, you get something from teaching his student. And a lot of teachers would say, I really learned the subject when I had to teach it kind of thing. But there should be a distinction there that can't quite foster the same reciprocity as like a fellow student would.
Right.
So that makes sense.
I would for sure be I am for sure on my roommate's board of directors as a fellow student, but not if I were mentoring someone, I would not be on. It wouldn't be a reciprocal thing, if you will.
peer level.
It wouldn't be peer level, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, as you have that board of directors, how long did it take you to build those relationships or determine that these are the guys that I want to go to war with? I want to do life with. I want to be.
Great question.
How long did it take to
get that
accomplish
trust
those
level?
relationships? And it may have been progressive, but
Yeah. Years.
yeah.
It just is what it is. It takes years. Some of these men have fallen out of my life for myriad of reasons, whether it be my fault or their fault. And some have stayed. Like, I'm still good friends with the man that brought me to Christ, and I've known him for going on 14 years now.
Nice.
But some of them have fallen to the wayside, whether it be a life change or all of us go through seasons. We need different things at different times.
Yep.
And the current mentors that we have in our life aren't always going to be able to push us in those directions. Like, for example, I had one mentor years ago that was very good at helping me process from a area of emotion and trauma, trying to get through that. But I was at a time in my life where I needed discipline, because again, balance. You need balance. You can't worship in spirit and truth. You can't be all emotional all the time. And I was at a point in my life where I needed discipline, and there was another guy that exuded that quality, and so I decided to switch mentors, because I was like, he has a lot of discipline, and I could really learn from him, and that's kind of what happened there.
Got it.
That's great progression. I mean, and plus you can have more than one mentor.
You can, and it's encouraged.
Perfect example, because depends on what goal you want and what specific direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what you need in that window or season of life.
Yeah.
So, what about the walls that have to come down, right? As you're building those relationships and accountability partners or that board of directors, I love that term.
Yeah.
But, you're making decisions for your life with the guidance of those individuals, right? And so the walls that, most of us have up, we talk about fear of the social repercussions, right? The trust wall, right? To get us to a vulnerable state, talking about the years it took to get those guys around you, how long did it take you to get to where you felt like, man, I can talk to these guys. Like, I know they're not going to tell anyone what I said or what's going on in my life. And I can trust that the only time my name comes up in this conversation is when I'm in it. How long does that take? How long does it take to build those relationships?
Yeah.
Or break down those walls, I should say.
Yeah, so I did have CR, Celebrate Recovery, on my side, because they're very strict about anonymity and confidentiality. So I did have that going for me. But even with that, there were times that could go wrong. And so let me try to think here. I had a counselor once tell me you have to get comfortable in the uncomfortable. There comes a point where you just have to do it. You just have to send it and trust God before you to make it happen.
And you don't know how you're going to respond until you do it.
Until you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then most of the time, well, I shouldn't say most of the time, but a lot of times you do it, you're like, okay, wasn't that bad.
And
I'm still here. I'm still kicking.
yeah, and you have to be willing to lay down a lot of the what's it called? The stereotypes about being a man. Like,
Right.
you have to be, if you really want true healing and you really want to get to the bottom of what's going on, you have to be okay with, you're going to cry sometimes. You're going to be really angry sometimes. You're going to be really sad sometimes. Like, you have to be okay with being uncomfortable in that, because Because if you don't get it out in that safe container to where you're with someone that you trust, it's going to come out somewhere else, on your kids, on your job,
Right.
on your marriage. Because, I encourage super awesome book, The Body Keeps a Score. When we go through traumas, our bodies actually keep record of that physically. My dad's a good example. Like, mental and spiritual trauma led to his physical demise. He chose in his heart to give up. And so when he chose in his mind to give up, his body went with him. So if you don't look into these things and take the time you need to work through these things, that's going to come out somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you would much rather that come out in a safe place, taking that risk and trying to make it happen rather than it be the demise of your career.
That aligns what we're talking about on one of the recent episodes about how is somebody acting different currently compared to how they were before, right? Are they more distant? Are they more irritable? Are they angry? Are they treating people differently or whatever? All those are signs. And then how many times we lay in bed at night and you think about the worst things that we either did or some of the worst things that happened to us, and we still giving those circumstances or experiences weight to our existence currently. And that can be heavy, really heavy.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if it's, and I've been in some amazing small groups, like community groups at church and things like that. We talked about recently. I've not experienced going to a doctor or therapist or counselor for communicating. And it's not that I haven't needed it. I don't know that I don't need it. I'm an undiagnosed potential candidate. But I say all that to say there's a level of, and you talked about it, like being comfortable in the uncomfortable, but the fear of the discomfort, right? There's phobias of all different types of stuff. There's the fear of flying, fear of arachnophobia, fear of tight spaces and claustrophobia and all that stuff, right? Well, and I don't know what the phobia is. I'm sure somebody's named it, but the fear of being vulnerable and being in a position where people can judge you or people can not talk bad about you, but I mean, because that can happen, but you know,
could appear weak.
You could appear weak, or you could appear not manly, or
not good enough.
Again, not good enough. And I just was listening to a podcast. I'm going to blank on the guy's name, but he was the founder of the shoe company Tom's, right? And he sold Tom's for a big old chunk of money, but his mission is mental health. And it, you know, I'll get more of that for future episodes just to define it, but it just came to my mind as we're talking about this. But he was talking about how he just started this bracelet company, and it's called, the bracelet says, "I am enough." Right. And it comes with two when you buy it. And so you give one to the other person, and you read a note to that person about being enough. And even listening to him say that and the conversation that he was having on this podcast about I am enough, in my mind, I went, that's Sally, you know, like that's a little bit sissy. And I'm like, you know, but that's the whole problem, is that we create the stigma about finding help or seeking help or guidance.
I think it's the importance of empathy too. So just because we're okay, that doesn't mean everybody's okay.
That's right.
You know, you got to realize everybody has a different path that they've walked through their lives. And it's hard for us sometimes, especially when things are good, right? Everything is golden, one foot in front of the other. No rocky bumps in this road recently. So it's easy to assume, you know what, this life's pretty easy for everybody. But that's not the case at all. I mean, it's a different world out there for everybody.
For sure.
And you don't even know it until we have conversations like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I mean, and my mother-in-law just went through some just brutal cancer treatment. She's on the other side of it. Her blood work shows no cancer in her system.
Thank
all that
goodness.
stuff. She's on the beach right now with my father-in-law.
Enjoy it.
Enjoying themselves down in Florida, all that stuff. But the people around them right now on the beach, seeing them enjoy themselves, have no idea what she just went through. Don't know what she experienced. Right, no doubt. Yes,
if it's not visual, great.
Yeah, but at the same time,
if one more person has to ask me about this, what I just went through, right?
That's true. To that extent, there is truth in that. But at the same time,
right?
They
don't know.
That's
people
don't know what someone else is dealing with.
Totally
right?
clueless.
And the things that your Yukon XL around Murfreesboro and into Nashville and all that stuff, and you load up passengers and their bags and you're headed to the airport. They don't know what you got going on.
Yeah.
They don't know what you're thinking about. And so, man, I appreciate you joining us today and sharing your story with us and kind of bringing light to, the board of directors thing. You might be.
I love the terminology.
We might.
Hey, Trent, can you copy copyright that before he gets out of here?
Yeah. We might have a vote for board of directors in my life here soon, so I'll let you know if you're even a candidate.
Oh my gosh.
Good point.
But no, so that goes to that, and as we wrap up,
Let me ask you this, John, before we technically wrap up.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you really want to share? Anything that you'd like just to get out in the air? Like something, whatever, just whatever. You got
7-8 people watching this episode.
7-8 people.
Hey, in 5 years, it might be 1 million.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
This
So
could
tell
be
those people. Yeah.
I want to go back to, I think this is so important, especially as a man, and we never talk about this, that I am enough thing. Like, your reaction to that, like, totally gets me down this rabbit trail. I remember a time, and this was before my dad kind of started deteriorating, that what my dad used to do is he would play with me. He would tickle me and, like, affirm me, and it was Abba, going back to that dad thing, that Abba thing. It was intimate. And I think even using that word as men, we think, ooh, like intimate with my dad kind of thing. Like, we need sissy. We need that. We need,
whether you admit it or not.
Whether you admit it or not, and it's not a girly thing. It's not, whatever society wants to put on it. We need those tender moments between other men. Like, you need to give your bro a hug. You need to, like, tell your guy friends that you love them. Not, and like, I know there's gonna be men that hear that and say, like, oh, that's just weird, bro. And like, no, like, you need to have those men in your life that you would lay your life down for, because I think as men we starve ourselves of healthy masculine intimacy. Like, you go to other cultures, like people overseas, a lot of Europe countries, they'll kiss each other on the cheek. And I'm not saying that we have to do that or anything like that, but I do want to speak to that affection, to that those intimate moments that we need as men. We need another guy to tell us that we're enough. Because how many times do we have as men that emotion well up and we just stuff it down with humility, or I'm just going to do more work, or I'm just going to pour into this masculine thing. We don't take the time to give that emotion space and to say, like, no, I'm not okay right now. I need help.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, well
Thank you.
said. Yeah.
100%.
So John Seale, the
Ride Guy
Transportation. You can find him at rideguytransport.com.
Transport.com.
What's your number?
Say Keen say? No, I'm just kidding. 615-600-2606. You can text or call that number.
Perfect.
There you go.
And you can also email us at john@rideguytransport.com. If you have any trouble reaching us, please give us a call. We have a very detailed voicemail of how to leave your ride details. I have had a few clients to where the email might have gotten missed or the text message. We are very responsive. If you don't hear back from us, please give us a call. We'd love to run service for you. We don't care if it's 3 a.m. We're going to be there. Just give us a call if you need us.
Perfect. Awesome.
There you go. Free therapy on the way, too.
Yeah. And we've got
Douglas Berger, Transworld Business Advisors, Murfreesboro.
And Chris Payton, the 615 negotiator, your car buying superhero. We have on the Facebook page, The Resilient Gentleman, The Resilient Gentleman.
Easy for you to say.
I don't know why I'm struggling with it. The Resilient Gentleman.
There you go.
Facebook page, Facebook group. If you have any questions for John as well, I know he'd be happy to dive into those with you as well. You can direct message either Douglas or I on the group, and we can connect you with John. He also left his number there. But if you have any further questions or ideas or comments, we'd love to see those. We are also starting on the Facebook group the mailbag. So on the mailbag, in the mailbag, you'll be able to drop a comment or a question that you want to know about Douglas or I. We'll answer, or even any topic, our thoughts on that topic.
Yeah,
and
or
we'll
things that maybe
address
we should
that.
bring up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And topics we should talk through in future episodes. So drop a comment in the mailbag. We will address that in future episodes. You ready?
Peace. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank
Thanks,
you guys. An honor.
Thank you for listening to the Resilient Gentleman podcast. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and of course, please leave us a 5-star review. We will see you on the next one.